So the word today is rude. Rude. Offensively impolite or ill-mannered. Very abrupt, as in a rude awakening. Vigorous or hearty. Or roughly made or done, lacking sophistication. So the root for this is the Latin word rudis, which means unwrought. And it's connected to another word, which is erudite. And erudite means having or showing great knowledge or learning. And the word erudite is from the same root, rudis, this Latin word. And I want to think about um, both of those sort of together because they represent two poles in relation to um, the stone basically. So rude means basically an unwrought or unworked stone, and it goes back to this Proto-Indo-European root to 1 second, which is hru. I don't know, probably not pronouncing that correctly because it's I don't speak Proto-Indo-European, but it's Hrew, which means to tear out, to dig out. So let's think about this. Rudis and this from this crew. Um, you rip out a stone from the earth. You like you tear out like a big clod of earth, and there's like a stone in there covered with mud, maybe something like that, yeah. And it's unwrought or it's unworked. And the crucial difference between rude and erudite is that erudite is basically a worked, a cultivated, a trained and instructed rudis. So it's like a worked stone or like a polished stone. Let's just think about erudite as like worked stone, yeah? And let's think of rude as unworked, unwrought stone. The thing about this is that human beings lived in the Stone Age, so it's called, for most of our life. And the one of the chief indicators of behavioral modernity in the anthropological record is the working of stone, which is interesting. So the one of the ways that we can tell that behaviorally modern human beings lived in a given epoch is the presence of worked stone. How fascinating is that? So, unworked stone is what is rude, and worked stone is what is erudite. Oh yeah, so I have this passage from Plotinus on his treatise on um, the Platonic form of beauty. And Plotinus uses the analogy of a sculptor working at a statue. This is one of the most beautiful passages um, in Plotinus. So I'm going to read it in full, and hopefully this will shed some light on our word rude and this Latin root rudis. Withdraw into yourself and look, and if you do not find yourself beautiful yet, act as does the creator of a statue that is to be made beautiful. He cuts away here, he smooths there, he makes this line lighter, this other purer, until a lovely face has grown upon his work. So do you also. Cut away all that is excessive, straighten all that is crooked, bring light to all that is overcast, Labour to make all one glow of beauty, and never cease chiseling your statue until there shine out on you from it the godlike splendor of virtue. Amazing passage. And it goes on. This is Plotinus on beauty. Um, what's the point here? The point is that Plotinus, in describing the journey of the soul to beauty, the beautification of the soul, is using an analogy, and the analogy relates to a worker of stone. Again, again, the working of stone is one of the ways we recognize the human being in the anthropological record. I think the earliest stone tools were made by Australopithecus 3 million years ago. So this is pre Homo sapiens, like before us. Um, but there are glimmerings of the use of stone tools as early as 3 million years ago in Australopithecus. And so what's the point? I think it's a really this word rude, rudis and erudite from the same root rudis. Um it shines a lot of light on our humanity because it has this idea of working, um, infusing creative work into the matter, into the stone, and chipping away from the stone the excess and the roughness and giving it shape, giving it form until, as Plotinus says, a beautiful face shines out from the stone. And Michelangelo, the Renaissance sculptor, said something in this Platonic tradition, echoing Plotinus, really, when he said that he did see an angel in the marble and carved until it was set free. This imagery of sculpting, that we sculpt ourselves, we sculpt our souls through the course of this life, is a powerful one and speaks to a certain creative process at the heart of what it is to be a human being. After all, there is a way in which animals don't work the stone of themselves in the same way. Um, the difference between animals and human beings is a whole uh, topic, really, in itself, somewhat beyond the scope of our present sort of task here with the word rude and erudite. But this sort of self-work, creative self-work, this responsibility, this ability to take account of reflexively ourselves and see that aspect of our speech is a bit rough or excessive. That aspect of our body even is a bit rough or excessive. Um, of our dress, of our life, of the way we treat others, etc., is a bit um out of shape, yeah, unformed. And so okay, I notice that rude aspect of myself. And to the degree that we are all imperfect human beings, we all have this roughness, this rudeness to ourselves. Hopefully you're getting a sense of a deeper way in which I'm using that word rudeness now, that's getting a bit under and deeper than merely impolite. There's something about the shape of our soul and the excesses of ourselves, which can then be wrought, it can be worked. And this is, the classic process, the classic path of philosophy and and the cultivation of virtue, tempering excess, tempering what is rough, and smoothing, shaping, forming. I've read from a Platonic treatise there from Plotinus. This idea of form, shape, plays a big role here because after all, what's wrong with an unwrought stone? Um, there's only anything wrong with it, um, from a certain viewpoint, right? Like if you're Michelangelo looking at a lump of marble, you could say like, "Oh, that's a cool lump of marble. Leave it as it is. Leave it unwrought." And it's like, yeah, but there's like a difference between an unwrought lump of marble and a an astounding, is it Michelangelo's Pieta, which is in St. Peter's in Rome. Man, you just the beauty, just the depth and the presence and the splendor of well wrought stone is something else. It's like night and day, really. The difference between an unwrought stone and a wrought stone, an unworked stone and a worked stone. There is an element too of denseness, like the unwrought clod of earth ripped from, what was this Proto-Indo-European word again? Chru, to tear out, to dig out. I'm imagining, seeing a cliff face, tearing a bit of that off, or digging in the ground and ripping some sort of thing out rudely. There's a difference between that and then working it, getting away what is heavy, getting away what is obscuring it, and seeing in it some form that can be illuminated, some subtle light that can be brought out of what is rude. To transform what is rude into what is erudite is a great mystery and power that dwells in our own hearts. Like really, that is at the essence of our humanity in some basic sense. In the sense of, even from an anthropological perspective, we can say that we start to recognize humans, the emergence of behavioral modernity in that process of working stone, literally. But then Plotinus is then saying, well, let's take that analogy and consider our own souls, our own selves as works in progress. And maybe this is a process that doesn't end. It goes on and on in this life, as there will always be rudeness and excesses that we continuously will need to work on as we grow and as we live. But it is that work. It is the putting in that work, uh, consciously, creatively imbuing ourselves with that creative spirit, that refinement of the self, this comes very close to the essence of the human being as a creative being, capable of creative labor and creative work. Um, so maybe I'll leave it there. I think that's a nice little reflection there on this word rude. The Latin root is rudis, and the Proto-Indo-European root is hru, Hrew, which means to like tear out. And so that, and then its opposite, that, and then its cultivation, the forming, the shaping of this unworked stuff, this unworked stone, uh, and then working it into something truly beautiful. Um, so thank you for listening. That was the soul of words, this little series I'm doing on words, their etymology, their meaning, in which I am trying to, well, I'm on a journey really into the deeper imaginative sense of different words. So thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love you to give it a like, maybe a comment. And if you're new to the channel, I'd love to you to subscribe if you're interested in this kind of content. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for listening.